thanks very much for joining us today. My name is Thomas Johnson. I'm the program curator for the RPL Film Theatre and curator for Dunlop Art Gallery, and I'm pleased to be here on Treaty 4 territory, the homelands of the Naheawak, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and the homeland of the Métis. Dunlop and RPL and Regina Public Library are committed to working together with Indigenous people as we take this important step forward on the pathway of collaboration, reconciliation, and change. I'm really pleased that we were able to have this amazing screening of the film before I changed my mind, and I welcome the online audience as well as the audience here in the film theater to have a discussion with our esteemed guest, Trevor Anderson.
I'm right here, but I'm not on stage yet, but hi.
Right over here. Before we get started, for those of you joining us virtually, I'd like to invite you to please mute your microphones when you're not speaking. And we will take questions through the online chat. So if you want to send questions in the chat box, that would be great. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Trevor Anderson. Born in Alberta and raised in Montreal, Trevor is a writer, director, and former video... You can come over here.
Okay.
Is a writer, director, and former video store clerk whose short films have been presented at many international festivals. His works was screened in 3 times at Sundance, 3 times at Southwest by Southwest, and twice at the Berlinale, where his musical The Man Who Got Away, which we screened yesterday, won the DAAD Short Film Prize. His Western, The Little Deputy, and his science fiction horror, Docking, both premiered at Sundance and were named to Canada's top 10 by the Toronto International Film Fest. Trevor's feature film, which we just watched, had its world premiere in the competition of Locarno Film Festival, where lead actor Vaughn Murnay won the Golden Jug Award for Best Acting Performance. So now, thank you very much, Trevor, and we'll have some questions from the audience.
Thanks, Thomas. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out on a Friday night and watching the movie, and thanks for having me here in Regina. I think Thomas is going to move around with a microphone. If you want to have a bit of a conversation.
I'm going to start with one question.
Okie doke.
How extensive...
I can repeat it into this microphone for the online audience when one's working, except this one's coming in and out. Well, if you're watching at home, good luck to you.
How extensive is your West Edmonton Mall archive, video archive?
How extensive is my West Edmonton Mall video archive? Yeah, it's pretty good. Because you saw some West Edmonton Mall footage here tonight in the feature. And some of that is actually directly lifted from my short film, The Little Deputy, which I released in 2015, which is a Western that starts in 1986 at West Edmonton Mall and ends in 1886 in Fort Edmonton. And to shoot that footage, we bought a VHS camcorder off Kijiji, and it was broken in the prettiest ways, and we shot a bunch of footage that was meant to look like 1986, but we were shooting it in contemporary. The nice thing about Edmonton is that a lot of it still looks like 1986, and so you just point the camcorder and you've got a period film. Except certain things were gone. The flamingos are no longer there, the dolphins are no longer there. Some of that is in The Little Deputy, some of it is in this. So, we had to fake some of it with movie magic, but I do have some VHS tapes shot at West Edmonton Mall now.
I really liked the punchline of the Little Deputy, the final photo taken with Dad.
Thanks, thank you. For anyone who missed it or wants to watch any of the short films, The Little Deputy or any of the other films, they stream for free on my website, which is trevorandersonfilms.com. Yeah. This is my first feature, yes. I made like too many short films, and now this is my first feature.
How was that transition?
What's the transition like? Well, for the longest time I would only get ideas for short films, and it kind of bugged me. I wanted to make feature films, but also I came to love short films as a form unto themselves. I think short films can do certain things that feature films can't. And so I really developed a love for that form in and of itself. I think if I had an idea for a feature sooner, I would have viewed shorts just as a stepping stone to get to a feature. But because I spent, a couple decades as a short filmmaker, I came to really love it as its own thing. And then the ideas for the feature films started to come. And in large part, that has to do with me starting to work with one of my oldest friends, Fish Grakowski, as a writing partner. Sometimes things are just better with a buddy, And all of a sudden, when I was writing alone to try to write feature films, I could just see what was not working and what was bad and what was wrong, and I would get very discouraged. But then when I started working with somebody creatively, I could focus on what was working. And my attitude just improved greatly because I kind of became a leader and a director, and it was like, let's just focus on what's working and the rest will fall away. And I think that comes from years of theater, that I just like making things with friends more than making them alone. That's why I went into such a collaborative art form. So the sitting down and the writing of a feature film alone was really bumming me out. But now Fish and I just have a whole bunch of ideas, and we've got a new script kind of ready to go, very close to ready to go. And so we're going to start asking the Canadian funders for money for the new film starting in about January, I think. And if everybody says yes the first time we ask them, we'll be able to shoot it in the fall of 2024. I'm so bad with time. Next year. And then if we have to ask anybody twice or 3 times, then we'll shoot it, later. But hopefully we could shoot it as early as next year.
How long was the production process for this one? Like pre-production?
Yeah, production process for this one. So we started writing it in January of 2016, forever ago. And then we started fundraising for it, I guess, in 2018. And we were about ready to go by March of 2020. So, and of course, do you remember, like, none of us knew, it's hard to remember what that was actually like, but I remember being told that we would have to stay inside for 2 whole weeks. And I was like, I can't stay inside for 2 whole weeks. And then nobody knew how long it was going to last. So the producers started saying things to me like, can it be, because it was always written to be like a spring movie. I think it works best as a spring movie. Then it was like, can it be a late summer movie? Yes. So we rewrote it for late summer, but that, of course, didn't happen. Can it be a fall movie? Okay, we rewrote it for fall. Can it be a movie shot in the deep winter in Alberta? Okay, yes. And I even had friends going and like pulling their 1980s ski jackets out of storage for us. And then, of course, it came all the way back around, and we were able to shoot it in July and August of 2021. So that's 5 years until we had it shot, and then it took another year to edit it and get it premiered in August of 2022, and now here we are in June of 2023, still hoping for a distribution deal. So it's a long road, especially a first feature. I'm hoping the next ones aren't as long a road, but we'll see. Probably they will be.
Well, you would think a film with this subject matter would be very sought after by a distributor at this time.
Yeah, we're still hoping. It's kind of just, I think we've got a Canadian distributor lined up, English Canada and French Canada, 2 different distributors. My producers are just in the final moments of signing the contracts, I'm told. And a company in the UK, I believe, that's lined up. Again, just has to be signed before I can speak too publicly about it. So hopefully, at least in Canada and the UK, it'll be released in the fall. The film's playing in San Francisco next week at the big... The film's playing in San Francisco next week at the big... I'm going to keep it here in case it comes back on. The film is playing in San Francisco next week at the big Gay Film Festival. There it is. The film is playing in San Francisco next week at the big Gay Film Festival, Frameline. So I'm hoping we might be able to secure a US distribution deal there. But it goes like that, territory by territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
Well, I just wanted to thank you
The mall genre?
It's an incredibly important genre.
Thank you.
Sorry, Anderson. I just wanted to ask, you seem to have... Oh. Hello.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask, like, having seen your shorts last night, you seem to kind of cover a lot of bases in terms of genres. Obviously, like, you're a big movie lover.
Yeah.
Is there a genre that you haven't explored yet? Because I know you've got the horror movie with the movie within the movie there. Would you do like a feature-length horror?
I would like to make a musical, a full-length feature-length musical, and I would like to make, yes, a horror. But I'm very, I don't know if I should say horror, because I'm not good with horror, really. I'm good with like we could do Satan's Seedlings as a parody level in here. I think if I had my own, we have a script for a big gay comedy horror, which I took to Telefilm Canada first. And I said, here's the movie I want to make, my first feature film. And they took one look at it, and it's like, you know, an alien in human form begins to stalk Edmonton, consuming men with its monstrous penis. Like, it's definitely a midnight movie. Telefilm took one look at it, and I got my first Over My Dead Body of my career, which, you know, every filmmaker should be proud of and cherish that moment. I got as long as I work at Telefilm, this movie will never be made. And that person no longer works at Telefilm, so maybe it has a shot now. Yeah. But I do like to hop around between genres because I did never go to film school, and so it was kind of like I knew I was giving myself my own film school experience, and so I was going, what's the next assignment? What haven't I done? Let's do a musical, let's do a Western, let's do a science fiction, you know. So it keeps it interesting and it keeps it fun for me. And it makes me challenge myself to go, if I'm jumping genres that much, what remains between them, you know? Whatever that is, I guess, would be, you know, when people go, do I have a voice? What's my voice? Like, whatever stays the same when you're changing that much, is it your quote-unquote artistic voice, I think.
Well, your sense of humor is so, like, consistent, right? Even whatever's going on, like, you're so funny.
Thank you.
With like the full-length Mary Magdalene radio or video.
I would love a full-length Mary Magdalene video star musical.
Especially with the 99 lashes with the Max Headroom head.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it as a series where there's like a regional community theater and they're trying to mount this production of Jesus Christ Superstar, but they can't get their rights, so he has to write Mary Magdalene Video Star, and then you can get 6 or 7 episodes out of that. But again, like, it's easy to come up with the ideas. It's a weird world to try to get stuff made in. Maybe I have to go back to the theater to get that one done, we'll see.
That was going to be my question. So are you working in like theater or other forms as well?
I am not working back in theater yet. I spent 10 years working in the professional theater before I started making films. And I may well wind up back there. Filmmaking is a slow game. So I do like the immediacy of theater. It's funny, I got out of theater because it bugged me for 2 big reasons, which was that when it's over, goodbye, the end, it's gone. Which is sort of a benefit to it too, but also it was frustrating after 10 years of making stuff that I had nothing to show for it, really. And then the other thing that bugged me about theater was that it doesn't travel very well. And both of those things are quite solved by film. Like, you can still go to my website and watch my first film from 2005. It sticks around, and it travels really easily. You know, you just download a file from the cloud. But now certain things are beginning to bug me about film, and I'll probably go back to theater, you know. That's just how I work. When I get sick of something, when I get angry enough at a format, I try something else. I'm very motivated by the chip on my shoulder.
There's still VR. You can work on that.
Yeah, people are trying to get me to make VR. I don't know. I've seen 2 good VRs, I think, in my life. And they were both documentary, so I think VR is especially good at documentary, you know, because it can put you right there across the table from somebody in a more immediate way. It's like, if you're using VR to like put the viewer places that they can't otherwise be, which is what cinema can do. I don't know. I don't like strapping stuff to my head. I don't. If they can fix that, I might get more interested in VR. But again, that's a very alone experience, right? And I like live theater, I like rock and roll, I like movies, I like circus. These are things that you do with community. VR, I don't know, it's a masturbatory kind of a form, I think. It would be good for porn. Maybe that's how I'll make my money. Thanks, Regina.
That's great.
So I guess, does anyone else have a question first before I?
Is it too bold to ask a budget? What the budget for?
Yeah, we did not have budget. We did not have nearly enough money.
Naturally, but you still made it look really good.
Thanks. We had like 750,000, which sounds like a lot, but it's a crazy low amount for this kind of movie. This movie should have scraped by at 3 million for a period piece with that many speaking parts and that many locations. And it's a tribute to my producers, Katrina Beatty and Allison Richards, and the crew in Edmonton, that we were able to pull it off. And they shot the script. Like I was never asked to compress speaking parts. Can these 2 people become one person? Can these 5 people become one person? Can you cut these scenes? Can you take these 3 different locations and make it all happen in front of one brick wall? Like, none of that happened, and so I'm very grateful. I was even adding things. Okay, so I know you've already told me I can burn down the rocket ship, but can it be raining? Can we make a rain rig so that we've got fire and water going on? Okay, so they were really gracious about that stuff.
You know, the quality doesn't seem compromised at all. That's one thing that's quite remarkable about your picture. I think a lot of times in Canada our work gets compromised because of our budget.
Yeah.
And you don't see that in your picture at all. It looks really sexy.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I have some questions about the plot.
Plot, let's go.
Yeah, do you have a special love-hate relationship with the 80s? Was that why that was the time frame?
I don't know. No, I think I love the 80s. I'm curious to know why you might think I might hate the 80s.
Well, it's over the top in the movie.
That's me holding back. I had a rule, no Rubik's Cubes, because every time you see a movie set in the 80s, it opens with this shot of the hero's bedroom and goes past the Rubik's Cube on the bedside table, and that's how you know you're in the 80s. And there's a Rubik's Cube in every set. So I had this rule, no Rubik's Cubes. And also by extension, none of that super obvious 80s. Until we got to the musical. And that's when we could put it all there. And in fact, my co-writer, my writing partner, Fish Kurkowski, who I mentioned, I said, okay, now here's where you actually have to dress up as a human Rubik's Cube for the bow. There's just a scene where you see people who were supposedly in the musical that you didn't see all of. And there's a Rubik's Cube bowing, and that's the co-writer. He was also the guy chopping the hedge at the beginning with the clippers, and we like to think that that character trimming his hedge volunteered to be in the musical and got cast as, we call it the Cube of Herod, because we don't have the lawyers or the budget to be able to get Rubik's Cube, So it was all pastel colors.
Well,
Yeah,
I
so
have-
we
I
put it
have
on the
another
80s.
question.
Yeah.
Was there some significance to the fact that, Robin and his dad are newcomers, and that's obvious, but they come from the U.S. Are they like in exile from the U.S.? And do they show an outsider's viewpoint of small town Alberta?
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
the idea.
it's like there's, people say there's only a certain number of ways to start a story, and one of them is like stranger comes to town. So that's a handy beginning. It started off autobiographical. This was an entirely autobiographical movie at first, and then it became semi-autobiographical, and now it's fiction. But one of the big changes, I grew up in Red Deer, born and raised there, but it was suddenly more useful to have Robin arrive as a new kid, just for the sake of an 89-minute movie. At first, Robin was even going to be from Scandinavia, just like really foreign to these Red Deer kids. But then we thought it's actually great if like Spokane, Washington was like really foreign to these kids in Red Deer, which it would have been in the 80s. someone came from America? That was weird. That was a different land. Yeah, so it just allows for them to have a different viewpoint on the small town, and also like the small town can have a different viewpoint on them. Like Robin enters at the beginning and it's very segregated, boys over here, girls over here, boys wearing this, girls wearing this, and Robin walks in, and I just wanted Robin to have that incipient sense of like Pacific Northwest grunge, you know, like maybe they're just also just a little bit ahead in the fashion, everyone else is 80s and they're maybe proto-90s. The costume designer, Leona Browson, is a genius, and she's a designer for the theater in Edmonton. Just everything I'm wearing in that movie when I play the director is an outfit, exact outfit of hers. It's her clothes from the 80s when she lived in New York. So everything I'm wearing in the movie, she wore around Manhattan in the 80s. But I said to her at the beginning, Robin, since we're never going to establish a gender for Robin all the way through the movie, you never know if Robin is for sure a boy or a girl, or maybe trans, or maybe non-binary. Like, it's never, the movie doesn't go there. We don't provide an answer. We leave that open. Like many of the things in the plot are left open on purpose. There's flashbacks about the mom, but what does it mean? I don't want the movie to know more than Robin knows. Maybe in 20 years, if Robin's lucky, 30 years, 40 years, Robin gets a good therapist and unpacks how what was going on with mom was influencing how they were behaving with Carter, you know, but Robin can't know that right now. Robin's in the middle of it. We just have to see it affecting Robin and draw our own conclusions. All of that to say, I said to Leona Browson, the costume designer, when Robin walks in, it can't be a gendered color. It can't be pink and it can't be blue. And she went, okay, and she pulled out this amazing sort of drug rug sweater that was pink and blue and green and yellow and like all these colors. And I was like, okay, you're right, that's actually much better if it is all these colors, and it's a world of options that Robin walks in with. I sort of went off the course of your question, but I hope I got to it somewhere in there.
I think I'm interested in you had this idea and it was formed, and just how everyone's like fish and people are contributing to it. So how do you see this at the end now, like your vision for the story and how it's come through and been realized on the film?
Yeah, well, like I say, one of the things I love about film is that it is so collaborative. I love that I look at this movie and I see everyone's contributions. You know, I knew I wouldn't have a movie unless I found the right actor to play Robin. There would be no movie, it wouldn't work. And when we found that kid, Vaughn Murray, holy cow, like, not only did they have this most superficial thing I needed, which was like a visually cryptic gender that might keep people guessing a bit, but more importantly, they had to be a good actor. And Vaughn, you can see Vaughn think, you know, the camera can see Vaughn think, which is one of those incredible things you look for in a film actor. Because the camera's right there, the back row of the theater is right there. And Vaughn had not done a lot of acting before. 2 supporting roles on a couple of web series. That's it. So that really felt amazing to me to discover this kid. And all the kids in the movie, I think, are wonderful. I love those kids so much. So that's my favorite thing about the movie now, is watching those kids give those performances. I think they're all terrific.
What was the age range for all your child actors?
The age range for the kids, Vaughn was 15, playing 13, looking younger than 15. And Lacey, who played Izzy, was 12.
Oh.
Yeah, and Lacey's from Red Deer, which is where I grew up, which is where the movie's set. The lawyers don't want me to say Red Deer, but Red Deer. And Lacey's from there, like from very close to where I grew up. And in walked this, she was 11 when she auditioned, because we thought we were shooting a year earlier because of the pandemic. In walks this like tiny, tiny, tiny child and sings and acts and gives a killer audition. And I said to the producers, I can't use her. She's just way too young. She's going to read like a very different age group than the others. Then the pandemic happened. Then we saw her again 1 year later, and it was fine. She was going to blend in with the other kids just fine. But yeah, and considering there was such an age range among those kids, we were really super lucky that they were all nice to each other and they all got along and no one was ostracized, and they all made a point of creating a little company among themselves. which I think allowed for their performances because they could take risks and not feel like they would go back to the holding area and maybe get made fun of for trying something new. But they were all encouraging each other to take their craft seriously, you know, so I was very lucky with those kids.
Well, that would be good leadership also, and just saying.
Thank you.
I really like the glow up of, was it Marlon?
The glow up of Tony, who they all called Marnold. Yeah, he becomes a rocker. I think that probably that character, Tony, I imagine, grows up to be like a world famous rock star in a band called the Marnolds.
Yeah.
Like Arcade Fire sized, like really, really famous. And they all have to know how they treated him. Yeah, I would like that.
You had that moment just coming to the door in the outfit. Or just...
Yeah, the big reveal of the mohawk and the jacket. And that was a really special kid too, Justin, who played Tony. He did a really good job of keeping that character. Like you really feel like that character's got a different world going on inside his head. Yeah.
Was the Chinese restaurant a set? Or
No, that's a place in Edmonton, the Ling Nan.
Beautiful.
You can go and eat there. If you ever visit Edmonton, you can eat at the Ling Nan. It's an amazing place, and they let film crews come and shoot there. So there was a reality TV show about the family that owns it. So they were they were the stars of their own reality TV show. They were very used to the idea of people shooting in that restaurant. I love that Ling Nan. Real restaurant in Edmonton.
Any other questions? Anything you'd like to, that hasn't been asked of you, Trevor, that you would like us to know? Okay, I have one, sorry, that was really awkward, and I take that back, but rockumentary about the Marnolds, I think I would like to see that.
A rockumentary about the Marnolds. Well, Fish and I talk about finding our own way to make like our own Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we, in some other movie later, you actually see that the Marnolds got famous, and it's fine if you don't know that, but if you know that, it's extra added bonus because you saw the kid's origin story. So if we get to make more movies, I think we're going to be planting these little seeds in them. I guess the thing I did think about when you asked if there was anything else I hadn't said is that I should shout out Lyle Bell from Edmonton, who wrote the Mary Magdalene video star with us. Fish and I and Lyle wrote those songs, and I think Lyle is just one of those guys that, you know, one of those people who can take a random Wikipedia entry and give you set it to music and give you the catchiest tune you've ever heard. So a lot of those earworms are thanks to Lyle. Oh, well, thank you for coming out on a Friday night. I know you have a lot of competing opportunities for your entertainment on a Friday night, so thanks for coming to the movie.
Thanks for coming to Regina.
Woo!
I think this is a great choice for everyone. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us in person and online. And just to remind you, we do have a number of other films throughout the month of June that I recommend you picking up the film theater schedule to see what's coming up. And of course, we do have the Pride Parade, which Regina Public Library is very proud to be part of tomorrow. But yeah, thanks very much for coming, and we hope to see you again soon. Take care.